Hey, what's up everybody? This video is geared towards parents who aren't as knowledgeable or into board games normally as other parents. Some people such as me who are collectors, we have a good idea of what games are out there, what kinds of mechanics are involved with them. The whole idea of choosing a game that's a little bit outside of the norm, outside of what we grew up with, like Life and Monopoly and Sorry, can be a bit daunting. I grew up with a lot of those games. I played Sorry a lot as a kid. I loved playing Life. I didn't really care for Monopoly as much. But apart from that, there's a huge library of games that would be great for kids, that would be great for parents and families to really bring them together, to really find a love for gaming that isn't staring at a screen the whole time. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge video gamer as well. I love video games, but it doesn't have the same feel when you play a board game. It's not like you're sitting there directly interacting with people and interacting with physical objects. There's just something a little bit different about that. So I'm going to go through just the games that I presently own to give you guys an idea of what's out there, what you might find interesting, what the games are all about. And if anybody wants, I can do how-to videos on how to play the games. Or if you want to contact me directly, I can hook up with you and work on a one-to-one at this point. I know that there aren't going to be a lot of people on the channel at the moment, so it'll be easier for me to do that. If this channel ever grew, then obviously that would change. But for now, I'm going to go up in age, so I'm going to start at a very young age and move up. So very young ages. One game that we used to have, but we do not have any longer, was Sequence Junior. Sequence Junior is sort of like playing Memory. It's an excellent game for kids that are very young, right around the 4 or 5 year range, and it really helps them with memory. It helps them. It's got cute animals on it, so it helps them identifying animals. It helps them understand basic strategies where you want the animals to be played in specific places so that you can score points. It's really just an all-around great game. I played it with both of my kids when they were young, and they both absolutely loved it. So Sequence Junior is definitely a great game to look into and check out for your kids. They do make an adult version, which is good. As the kids get older, they can play the more grown-up version, and there's a little bit more strategy involved in that one. I'm going to go through, I have a whole pile over here, so I'm just going to go through them. First is Set. So Set is a card game where you lay out cards and you're challenged to find commonality between them. And when you find commonality between them, you call it as a set. Now the commonality can be the color, it could be the number of symbols on it, or it could be the shape of them. It could also be how it's shaded. So some of them will be solid and purple. Some of them will be shaded. I don't know if you can really see that, but it's shaded inside of it. There will be different symbols, different colors, and you're really looking for different types of sets where it'd be 1, 2, 3, and they'd all be different shades, and they'd all be different colors, or maybe they're all the same shade and different colors, or all different shades and the same color. It's a good game for mental acuity. It's very easy to play. It's very visual. It's great for very young kids because they can play it. They can look at it and see that, okay, I can make a set out of this. It's not something that's very hard for them to grasp. It's a simple concept. It's an easy mechanic and a lot of fun to play. Even as adults, it's a lot of fun to play because you can really challenge to see who can come up with things faster. They use stuff like this in IQ tests for obvious reasons because it can test part of your mental acuity, but it's great for young kids who are learning. Next up is, so this one I picked up for my daughter last year. This is Dragon's Breath. Dragon's Breath is a very good game for much younger kids, 5 and up. And basically the idea is you have on the back, you have this pile of rings and you have a bunch of gems in it. And everyone has their own different dinosaur. So what you're doing is, or dragon, or they're dragons. And what you're doing is you're trying to take the ring off to get whatever color gems you want. So in the beginning of the round, you pick a gem, a color, and then all the gems that fall that round are yours, as long as they don't go in one of these little holes here. So very easy to play, a lot of fun. My kids love this game. This game actually won the Children's Game of the Year in 2018. It won the Critics Award for it. So excellent game. Dragon's Breath by Habe Games. They're based in Germany. A lot of the games are based in a lot of the game companies were based in Germany. The next one is Mysterious Forest by Yellow Games. This was also, I believe, this won an award, although it's not listed on the box. This is more of a storytelling game and a memory game. So you go through, you have a character, and you're going to go through all these different areas of the forest to get from one end to the other, and at the end you have to fight a monster, kind of. The artwork is fantastic. The production value, most yellow games have fantastic production value, and there are a couple more on my list here. This one, you have all these symbols that you stock up in your backpack, and you prepare for when you go across this whole area, the path along the forest. And when you're going through it, you have to take whatever symbols you use out of your backpack and put them down. But what you get also depends on your dice that you roll. It's a simple game to play. It's for 6 and up, 2 to 4 players. It's very short. It's only about 20 minutes long. Usually when gamers are younger, shorter games are much better to get them engaged and keep them engaged, because they'll have much less time to be distracted, and it'll let them focus directly on the game. Dragon's Breath is similar in that respect. It can be as long or as short as you want. There's a huge deck of cards in there. Dragon's Breath is only, I'd say, maybe about 15 minutes. Maybe it's not a very long game. But yeah, Mysterious Forest by Yellow Games, another good game. Moving on, this is another really, really solid one, Ice Cold. This game is adorable. You set up the game, it looks like this. It's all, it's like Russian nesting dolls. All the different pieces of the board are all nested inside this box. And you have little penguins that are like wobbly, they're rounded on the bottom, and you flick them from one end to the other, trying to go through different passageways like here to collect fish. And there's one penguin who's basically the penguin catcher, and he's trying to flick their penguin into your penguins to take your driver's license. Once either he has all your driver's licenses or you guys collect all your fish, the round is over, and then another person becomes the catcher. And at the end, having a license means you get a bonus card. This is a lot of fun to play. It's super easy. It is great fun for kids. They love flicking these around. They love the whole idea of it. It's very exciting. It really keeps the interest. It's a little goofy, a little silly, which is great for kids. My kids love goofy and silly games. So Ice Cold, who is this by? This is by Brain Games. Oh, they're now over. For those who didn't know, that's a callback to the HBO show Brain Games. They're still in business. The last one for younger people, that one was 6 and up. This one is for 4 and up. This is called Enchanted Forest. This is by Ravensburger. This is another memory-based game. You go around the forest and you have to land on special spots to look at what's under trees, and each thing under a tree is going to be a different object from fantasy, from what do you call it? From fairy tales. So they'll have like Cinderella's symbol. They'll have the spinning wheel, from this the lollipop from Hazel and Gretel, Jack and the Beanstalk's beans, and there'll be one that you're looking for, and it'll be at the castle. And what you do is you go around trying to find out where that one is, and then when you know where it is, then you have to go land on the castle and make the guess. And if you guess it right, you win that card, and if you guess it wrong, then you go back to start. Great game, a lot of fun for much younger people, even kids. I would say this says 6 and up. Oh no, this is 4 and up. So yeah, four and up is pretty solid. It's very easy for kids to play. It's not hard to learn. It's something 1 page of rules. It's not very deep, but a lot of fun. It gives kids an idea of the different fairy tales, and you guys can talk about the fairy tales. A lot of them go along with Disney movies, which is great because then they'll feel more engaged with it. So a lot of that is really solid here. All right, we're going to move up. The biggest category of games I have for age is 8 and up. Well, we play a lot of 8 and up games. Now, when a box says it's 8 and up, it really depends on the game. A lot of games will have certain mechanics where maybe it's a solid 8, maybe a solid 8-year-old would be able to play it. But a lot of them will also have maybe like a 6 or a 5-year-old could play it. Like some of my kids were playing some of these games much earlier on, and you can dumb them down a little bit with house rules to really get an idea. So I'm going to start out with two games that are educational games that are really great. One of them, they're both chemistry related. So one of them is called Ion. Ion is a card game where you're basically making molecules based on what their charge is. So some of them are positively charged, some of them are negatively charged. You want something that's neutral. So you're playing cards to try and build neutral molecules and also score points depending on what you build and what the current bonus point molecules are. It's a really easy game to learn. It's a lot of fun. It's great education, and it's a great theme. This company that makes these Genius Games, they make a lot of games like this. They make chemistry ones, they make biology ones. They're all solid games in and of themselves. Even a lot of times you come across games that are about science where they're all about trivia or something like that. Something that's very, you play the game and you're like, oh, come on. And kids roll their eyes at it because it's not really a game at that point. These are games. These are games that are fun, even if they don't really understand what's happening or what's doing it. When they get a little older and they start taking specific chemistry concepts, they might look back and say, oh, yeah, that sounds familiar. I remember playing a game like that. Yeah, you can do this, that, and the other thing. That's great. So Ion is a good one for that, and so is Covalence. Covalence is similar. It's also about molecule building, except in this is a cooperative game. So this is more about one person will know what they're trying to get the other player to build, and they'll give them clues. Like, oh, it's got this element in it, or it's got, and each clue will be an element and a number. So maybe it'll be like 2 and hydrogen. So it's like, all right, there's going to be 2 hydrogen in this. So it's trying to get the other person to guess what you're trying to make them build. And it also gives them an idea of how molecules go together. They talk about single and double bonding and stuff, some core chemistry concepts. Very basic, but it really does fit the theme well. It really gives a good idea of the science behind it. None of it's cheesy, and it's a fun game to play. It's very engaging. All right. There is one other by them, but that's in the 10 plus range. These are all A plus, the ones I'm going through now. All right, next we have Race to Adventure by Evil Hat Productions. So this game is all about, you lay out all these different areas, you go to different areas to get stamps on your passport and accomplish goals, and each area has its own thing that you do, like its own activity. And You basically go around trying to get all of it before the other players. Very easy to learn, very easy to set up. It's fun. It's got some great artwork. It's pretty silly in the theme. It's got kind of a silly nature to it. Like on the front, there's a gorilla on a jetpack. I mean, it's not really taking itself super seriously. But fun game, very short. It's 8 and up, 30 minutes. That's about right. It takes about 30 minutes. It can take shorter depending on how well the kids play it. All right. I'm going to go with some of these first. All right. This game has a very gross theme, but my kids love it. And I love it because it's just so ridiculous and so gross. Pooh. Pooh is a card game that you play where you're basically playing monkeys to fling poo at one another. Or the other people would be the other players. And trying to not get poo thrown at you. So there'll be cards in there that block poo or that clean you off. And the whole idea is not to get poo thrown on you. It's super silly. It's very gross. Takes anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes to play, not depending on how many players there are. Some of these games have varying player counts. This one is 2 to 8. I'm sorry I didn't mention it for the previous games. I'll do so from now on. But most of the games that I mentioned are anywhere between 2 and 4 players. The vast majority of games you run into are 2 to 4 players. Some are open-ended, such as set. You can play it with however many people you can fit at the table. It doesn't matter. But Pooh is a fun game. It's very, very silly. The artwork on the cards is very, very silly. You know, like Not in the Face or Mighty Joe Young Pooh. Like really, really silly stuff. I really like it. All right. Next game, huge favorite in our house. Huge favorite. Okay, this game is called Roll For It. Now this is the deluxe edition, so it comes in like a metal tin. I don't know if it comes with anything else really. It's a metal tin. It comes with a really sweet bag that's embroidered with Roll For It on it. This game is just about rolling dice. So everyone gets 6 dice. There's a bunch of different colors in here. I think this goes up to 8 players. Where is it? Yep, 8 players, 2 to 8 players. And it scales pretty well. It's a lot of fun to play with 2. It's great fun to play with 4. The higher you get, it gets a little bit more cutthroat. The idea is you'll have cards out like this. And let's see if I can get it. So you have a point value at the bottom. And then you have what you need to claim the card. So you need to roll 3 threes to get this card. So let's say you only roll 1. Then you put that 1 next to the card, and now you're rolling less dice. The object is you want to keep rolling to try and get the card you want. First person to 40 points wins. Super easy to play, a lot of fun. Kids really enjoy it. They really enjoy rolling the dice. If you get a dice tower for rolling, that really engages them also. We did the same thing. And it's just a lot of fun. Very easy to travel. Very pick up and play. Does not take long. Can take anywhere from, I'd say, minimum would probably be around 10 minutes if it was really a slaughter. More people, you can bump that up. It can get up to like 30 minutes or so, but probably not much longer than that. On the subject of card games, so Dragonwood. Dragonwood is another one for 2 to 4 players. It only takes about 20 minutes to play. And the object of this game is you play cards in your hand to try and roll dice so that you can capture cards that are on the board. And depending on what's in this area of the card here will depend on what you need to roll. They're not regular dice. They only go up to 4. They don't actually go up to 6. And these are how many points it's worth. So you keep going through the game until either there are no cards left to draw, I think, or someone has taken the second dragon, because there are dragons that are in there also. This is a great one for kids to learn. It says even right here, kids learn strategy and probability. how likely would it be that I roll the number I need to roll. So it gives them a good idea, a good sense of dice. I kind of would have preferred that it had six-sided dice, so it's more of a realistic and reusable idea of probability, but it does teach basic probability very, very well. And it's a lot of fun. The artwork is great. The monsters have silly names. So it's really great. Like Grumpy Troll, the fire ants are actually on fire. It's just a really, really solid game. We play this a lot. All right, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. This one is so good. This was Game of the Year in 2007 for kids games. This is Kingdomino. Kingdomino is like playing dominoes, except you're trying to build a kingdom, and you'll have different parts of the dominoes. Each domino is split into two halves, just like regular dominoes. And you'll have fields, or I think this is like grain or fields, something like that. And this is regular grass fields or pastures, water, swamps, mines, and the crowns here determine how many points your area is worth. So here you have 3 water tiles, but there's only 1 crown on any of them. So each space would be worth 1 point. This one has 3 mines that touch, but across them there's 5 crowns. So each space would then be worth 5 points. You have to limit your kingdom to a 5x5 grid, and it's got a great mechanic for picking your new tiles. You lay out 3 tiles, and initially it's random, but then the person who picks the tile at the top gets first choice of the next list of group of tiles, and then it goes through them. Everybody uses those tiles, and then new tiles come out, and then you go the other way, and the first person picks. So even if you're last place and you don't get to really pick your tile, you may end up going first the next round and get to pick better tiles. It's a great game, very easy to learn for kids. Parents can help with some of the addition when it comes to calculating your score, but other than that, great game, awesome family game. Plays up to 4 players, very short, maybe 15 minutes, 10 if you have a short amount of people, but really, really solid game. All right, moving right along, we have Dixit. Dixit is all for 3 to 6 players. This game is all about the creativity. This game is all about, you have all these great cards with this amazing artwork in them. And there are expansions as well with more cards, I believe. And what you do is the player has to make up a clue that relates to that card. And then everybody else looks at the cards in their hands and they try to pick a card that could also fit that clue. Then everybody plays them face down and they shuffle them up, and then you flip them up. And if you want people to pick your card, and then you'll get points. But if people pick other people's cards, the other people get points. So it's really, really a fun game. It's great for creativity. It is so much fun with all the amazing artwork and really makes kids think outside the box. Definitely highly recommended. It's fantastic. It says it takes about a half hour. Yeah, that's about fair. Your first game can take a little bit longer, and indecisive people can stress that out a little bit. But otherwise, really, really good. Okay, 2 to 4 players, we have Drop It. Drop It is really, really solid. Similar in mechanic to Connect 4. You're basically just dropping pieces down this whole container here. And you have different shaped pieces, and there are rules. The same color piece can't touch when it lands. It also can't touch the same shape, and it can't touch the side where the same color is. So like, let's say this square here was yellow and it's touching the yellow side, it wouldn't count. But depending on how far it goes will depend on how many points you get. And then there are these little circles in here which can actually score you bonus points. Very, very simple to learn. A lot of fun to play. There are different variations in the box that let you play slightly differently. The first time I played this was with my brother and my nephew. My nephew was maybe 15, 16 at the time, and my brother and I both much older, and we all had a blast playing this game. It's a lot of fun. Even for adults, it's a lot of fun. But for kids, this is a solid game. My kids really like it. They really enjoy it. All right, next up is a game that I just picked up recently, and I'm so in love with it. It is such a good game. It is so solid. This is Barenpark. So Barenpark means bear park in German. Don't worry, when you see this in the store, it's not in German. They translated everything else for the game except the name, which I don't know why they did it. But really awesome game. You have your own little bear park here, and you're taking tiles that are different shapes, some of them that are bear houses, some of them that are bear habitats, some of them that are just regular things like playgrounds, toilets, street vendors, and rivers. And you're playing them in your park, like sort of like Tetris, to fill in your park. And when you fill in a whole square of your park, then you get a bonus score. At the end of the game, you score up all your points, and you determine who's the winner. And there are also, for advanced game, there are also bonus cards that you can go for. That this one is have one of each type of these tile of houses, bear houses. This one is have 3 rivers connecting end to end. This one have 3 different polar bear exhibits, and then when you have that, you score those extra points. It's great replayability. It plays up to 4 players. A lot of fun. Really teaches kids about thinking ahead and gives them an idea of spatial relations. Gives them an idea of, okay, how much space is this going to take up? What shape space piece am I going to need to fill in the rest of my spaces? It gives them really that sense of it, and it's really awesome. A lot of fun. Okay, this one is great for adults and for kids. We played this with my son. He absolutely loves it. Azul. Azul is about building a mosaic. So on the back you'll see you have your board. Your board will show a mosaic here. And what you want to do is you pick tiles. They look kind of like little starburst. And you want to fill up these rows. And when you fill up a row, you take one of your tiles and you put it in your mosaic. The object is to get more of your tiles close to each other to score points, and then to score full rows, full columns, and to try and get one of each type if you can, because those are all worth bonus points. It's a very simple game to play. It's all about drafting, which is a concept of there are tiles in the middle, and they're all on different discs. There's 4 tiles per disc, so you're going to take all of the tiles of one specific color or type, or pattern, as you may say, and take those, put them on your board, and then all the rest go in the middle. So you're drafting these tiles. That's what that whole concept is drafting these. Similar to games where they say drafting is a mechanic that's also used in cards. So there's a game like Sushi Go, which is another good one for kids, where you have a hand of cards and you're taking one of them on your turn to play in front of you, and then you pass the hand and you take the hand passed to you, and then you draft another one. That's the concept of drafting. There are different game mechanics that go with different games. And I'll talk about those in another video, things like worker placement and deck building and stuff like that. But for now, I'm just trying to focus on the games that are out there that are good. And all of these games you can also find how-to videos online. I wouldn't be the only person to have this. But this Azul, really great game for everybody in the family. It plays up to 4 players. The next one you've likely heard of before is Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride is about building train routes, or claiming train routes rather. So you play train cards, and then however many cards you play, if this right here asks for 4 red cards, you're going to play 4 red cards. and then you're going to place your trains on that route, and you claim that route. You're trying to claim routes from different cities to each other to excuse me, to score points from tickets. Really, really fun game. Plays up to, I think this is a 4-player. No, it's a 5-player game. 30 to 60 minutes, that's about fair. It can take, this one can be a little bit longer, but it's a lot of fun. And there are different versions of Ticket to Ride. Some of them are better than others. I played the original. The original to me is more fun. There's a Europe one I'm not crazy about, and some of the other ones I haven't even played yet. But this one is solid. And that was an award winner in a Game of the Year in 2004. This one was a Game of the Year as well in 2007. It's called Zooloretto. In this one, you're trying to populate your own zoo. So you have different pens. Only one animal type can go into each pen. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good for the animals. And you have your barn. And there are spaces for vending stalls here. And what you're doing is, it's another similar drafting style where you have these trucks, and each truck fits 3 different tiles. And you're going to take a tile, reveal it, and then place it on one of the trucks. There'll be as many trucks as there are players. And then when you're ready, when you feel like you want to take a truck, so long as it has at least one tile on it, you can take it. And then once everybody takes a truck, then that round is over. They place the animals in their zoo, and then we put the trucks back and do another round. So this is a great game, a lot of replayability, a lot of fun. My kids love playing it with the concept of having a zoo and having all these animals, and if you have a male and a female, then they make a baby, and they love that whole idea of it. It's a really good game. Kids catch on to it pretty quick. The scoring is very simple, and it just, overall, it's a solid game. Even for adults, it's really a solid game to play. A lot of fun. There can be a good amount of strategy you can put into it later on, but even so, a lot of the games that we play, we're not hyper competitive. We're not pushing super hard to win and to score the highest that we can. A lot of it is with the games that we play they're games that they're fun to play. The actual mechanics, the actual theme, the idea of it is what's enjoyable, is what's immersive. It really brings us together and makes us want to play these games that are maybe about subjects that we find really interesting or really cool, or maybe just silly and we just want to mess around. All right. Another yellow game. This is for 2 to 6 players. This is King of Tokyo. King of Tokyo is a dice rolling game, and it's all about having a giant monster trying to take over Tokyo. So you have your giant monsters here. There's going to be a board in the middle where it shows Tokyo, and I can actually show that because it's easy to get to. You have your board, and you have your Tokyo City and Tokyo Bay. Tokyo Bay is only used if you have a certain amount of players. I think it's 5 and 6. Yeah, 5 and 6. And you have all your different monsters, and you have stars that you score. That's your score, and then health. And you're trying to get the most stars while dealing the most damage to the other players to keep them down and keep them away from you. It's a little bit of a take that kind of game, but it's very well balanced. There are cards that give you special abilities, and it's just, overall, it's an absolute blast to play. We played it for the first time at a board game convention at a museum, and it was super fun. We went home, I bought it. Great game. We played a lot. There are expansions that even bulk it up even more. There's a Halloween one where it incorporates some Halloween stuff, and there are different monsters that you can have, and it's just, overall, it's a lot of fun. All right, this one, even though it spawns from a game I'm not actually a huge fan of, which is Monopoly, this game is actually a lot of fun, and it's not as much of a newer type of game as these are. Free parking. Free parking is a great pick up and go, put down game. It does not take very long. Plays 2 to 4 players. It's for 8 and over. It's basically a little bit of a take that game. You're trying to build your parking meter up so that you can play point cards, and other players are trying to stop you from doing so. And it's basically a race to how many points you get. It's a lot of fun. It's a solid game. You can still buy it. I really like it. Kids like it. My wife likes it. It's super, super fun. All right. Back to the others. We got some good ones coming up. Another one from Yellow is Oceanos. Now, my kids love ocean stuff. Love underwater things with fish and octopus and octopi and stuff like that. This is a great game for that. The production value on this game is absolutely fantastic. You have your ship. Your ship is made out of puzzle pieces, which you can't really see here, so you can upgrade it. So when you upgrade the tail, like right now it's worth 0, you can upgrade your tail. You just take that piece off because it's cardboard and it's a puzzle piece, and you put the new one on. The puzzle pieces hold up pretty well, actually, to the abuse. We played this game a lot. And you basically go through the ocean. First you go through the surface, then you go through the mid-depth, and then you go through the ocean floor. And you get things like coral reefs. You see different fish and capture different fish. You get these underwater bases are for upgrades. And then you get treasure chests where you can put a diver out, which is what goes here. And the diver will surface and collect treasure from the treasure chests. It's a great game. It definitely teaches kids about drafting and playing. It's a card drafting game mainly. And just overall super fun. All the artwork is very, very cool, very silly, very kid-oriented, but there's definitely enough here to engage older people as well. Any older players, if you wanted to play it with just adults, it's actually really enjoyable to play. It's a beautiful game. Really, really, really solid. It's Oceanos. The majority of these games are available on Amazon, by the way. You can also get them, a lot of them at places like Target. You can get them at, there's another website called Cool Stuff Inc., which is another great place to get these games. And I'll put a list of all these games in the description. All right, this game is a blast. If you want a really quick game to just hammer out and have an absolute ridiculously silly time playing, that game is 5 Minute Dungeon. 5 Minute Dungeon only takes 5 minutes to play. Takes a little bit to clean it up, like maybe 2 or 3 minutes, or 5 minutes to clean it up, but it's so much fun to play, and it only takes 5 minutes. You have a timer. Now they have an official app timer that you can get from the App Store from either Apple or Google to work on your smartphone, and there are different voices on it. And the basic idea of the game is you have cards that are door cards that you have to beat, and the door cards will have like these symbols on them where, let's say it's 2 swords or a sword and a shield or arrows like here, and jumps. Everyone has their own character with their own special ability, and they have a deck of cards that's their own deck, and everybody plays at the same time. So you're all dishing out cards, and oh, we need this, we need that. Oh, we need a shield. We need someone to play a shield. And someone hurries to play a shield. It's chaotic. It's insane. It is so much fun. It is so silly. I absolutely love it. My kids absolutely love it. We play this game a ton, and it is just so much fun. It is a blast to play. Very, very easy to catch on to. Plays 2 to 5 people, and it's awesome. It really is awesome. So 5 Minute Dungeon. All right. This, I believe, is the last one in the 8+ range. This is the 2014 Best Kids game. This is Ghost Fightin' Treasure Hunters. Now that's kind of a mouthful, but this is very similar to a lot of the games we played growing up. So the idea behind this is that we're trying to collect treasures from inside the house while keeping the amount of ghosts that are in this house down. So every time on your turn, you're going to move and you're going to try and get rid of ghosts. So you roll a die to try and get rid of the ghosts. But also at the end of your turn, you're picking a card and you're putting a new ghost into a room. So all the rooms have different letters. So more and more ghosts go in. And when you have 3 ghosts in a room, it's haunted. When it's haunted, the only way to get rid of a haunted room is to have more than one player in there to fight the haunt. It's very campy, very silly. The ghosts are really cool. They're like these little rubber guys. They're really awesome. The components are really, really great. And it's a good cooperative game, a lot of fun for kids. My kids really, really loved it. We still play it. It's really, really fun game. Who's Fighting Treasure Hunters? When I first read it, I was like, yeah, but stood up. Okay, for the slightly more advanced, there are a few other games that I highly recommend. Most of these games I can play with my 8-year-old, and she's fine with them. She can play them, she can understand them, she can get through them. And it's not about being competitive. It's really about just understanding and being able to play. It's really a huge boost for kids when they see on the box, oh, it's 10 and older, but they're able to play the game and they're able to understand it. Maybe they don't have the best strategies right away, but it gives them a huge confidence boost for them to be able to say, I can play that game. I can do this. Like, I understand this. Because these are generally the age requirements on board games aren't so much the theme. Sometimes they're the theme, but for the most part, it's mechanics. It's how deep the game is, how hard it is for them to understand. So, first I'll go with Genius Games, like I mentioned before, the chemistry games. This one is Subatomic. This one is all about building atoms. So the other one is building molecules. This one's building atoms. So you get all the different, you start out with up quarks, down quarks, and photons, which is what builds up protons, forms protons, neutrons, and electrons. And then you're basically buying cards to put into your deck. It's a deck building game. So you're buying cards to put into your deck so that you can draw them and play them to build up your own atom. When your own atom has enough protons, neutrons, and electrons for some of the atoms that are up here, the scorecards, then you can claim those cards. And then you also get scientists that you can put in the deck, which give you special abilities like draw an extra card or something like that. And you get energy so that you can perform actions because everything requires energy. This game also comes with, which I think is absolutely fantastic, is it comes with the science behind. So a lot of their games come with either parts of the end of the rule book or separate books like this one have information on the science behind the game. So it really delves into what the actual real science is and why the mechanics are the way they are, why this builds this. And it really, really, I say really a lot, it seriously does ingrain in them that concept of science can be fun. It's like science can be interesting. It doesn't have to be a snooze fest in school. Science can be great. Like, I used to love science as a kid, but I had some really great science teachers that made it fun. Games like this make it fun. So Subatomic. This one is an all-time favorite of mine personally. I love this game. We played it with my son recently and he absolutely adored it. This is Thebes. Thebes is all about archaeology. You start out, the game takes place in the early 1900s, right around the turn of the century, and you basically go around the board collecting knowledge about different dig sites like in Palestine or in Egypt or Mesopotamia, and then you go there and you dig for artifacts. The artifacts will be in these bags, and in the bags will be artifacts and sand. So depending on how many tokens you want to take out will depend on how much knowledge you have about that area and how much time you spend being there. This is an amazing game. In it are all the artifacts for each section. Well, they all correlate to actual artifacts, and all the artifacts are listed here on the sheet along with what time frame they are. Sometimes it'll list when they were discovered, and you can Google all of them. They're all actual real artifacts. It's a great game. It's a little bit deeper, but it's very fun to play. Once you get it going, with all these games, once you get them going and you play a few rounds, you understand the game. Games can be very daunting at first. You'll look at the rules, especially if you're not a gamer. You'll look at the rules and go, I don't know what I'm doing. This is so confusing because it's so far out of the wheelhouse of roll to move, do an action, move on. But once you understand more about the mechanics involved in these games and how they work, it's phenomenal. And it really does open up so many avenues for learning, for just having fun and playing great games with your family. It's really excellent. All right, next up, this is a classic. Carcassonne. Carcassonne is all about building tile placement. So this is, you're placing tiles on your turn, and then you can place one of your little workers to do certain things. So they can go on a field and they can be a farmer. They can go on a road and be a thief. They can go into a castle and claim the castle, or they can go into a monastery and score points for the monastery. This is 2 to 5 players, plays in about a half hour. It can play faster depending on who you're with or how many players there are. At 5 players, it's probably going to play a little bit longer than a half hour, just because people are going to want to think a little bit more. Where am I going to place the tile? What am I going to do? So, and there's a lot more player interaction as it pertains to that, because the more people are around, the harder it is to score points. But it's a very easy game to learn. Very easy game to learn. Simple to play. Great replayability. There are a whole bunch of expansions for it. Tons and tons of expansions. And the expansions are great. The base game, though, very worth playing. It can be played with younger people. My daughter can play that game, no problem. It's rated for 10 and up, but she can play it. She understands it. Maybe she doesn't grasp the farmer's part of it. That's a little bit more forward thinking, a little bit more think ahead, but she'll absolutely get there before she's 10 years old. All right. All right, next is another card game. This is Nottingham. This is an unusual game. So depending on what card you play, each card, as you flip it over, will do an action. So one of them will let you take a card from another person. One of them will you have to take in your hand. All the cards do different things. Some of them are cancel cards. And you're basically trying to get sets so that you can score points. It's a lot of fun. It's a very player interaction heavy game. So there's a lot of take that. There's a lot of messing with the other players to try and screw them up. But it's a cool theme. It's a fun game to play. And once you get into the groove of it, it's a blast. And there's a lot of replayability for older gamers. Even people my age play this game all the time. It's super, super fun. This is probably one of my favorites. This is Parks. Parks is all about going through national parks. So you go play through 4 seasons. You go through the trail with your hikers and collect resources and do actions depending on what space you go to. And you use those resources to buy park cards, or you can use them to buy gear to help you along your path. And you also have canteen cards, which you can fill with water, that also do extra actions like convert one type of resource to another, things of that nature. The game is very polished. The artwork is gorgeous. It's such a dream to play because while you're playing it, you're just looking at it. It's like putting yourself outdoors, hiking through the woods, hiking cross country, that kind of mindset. Like I said, the art is great. The production value of the components is very, very good. This was a Kickstarter, but is now on sale online. And it's a really great game. It's a lot of fun to play. My son loves playing this game. My wife loves playing this game. It's definitely a solid go-to for us. So Parks by Keymaster Games. They have another game that's a little bit for slightly older people, older kids. It's 14 and plus. It's called Space Park. So it's a little bit more in depth, but Parks is a great, great game. All right. two left. Castle Panic. Castle Panic is another cooperative game where everybody is in the castle in the middle. We're trying to stop all these monsters from coming in from the forest and invading our castle. And you do that by playing cards, such as these, to try and hurt the monsters and stop them from getting into the castle. You don't want them to get to the castle and break down the defenses, because then the monsters will win. This is a fun cooperative game. It can play solo, which is great, or it can play up to 6 players. It takes a while, takes about an hour, but it's a lot of fun to play. It's a good artwork, very kid oriented, a little silly, but super fun. I highly recommend that one, especially as a cooperative game. A lot of people don't like take-that games or competitive games. They want to do cooperative games like Ghost Fightin' Treasure Hunters is like that. Castle Panic is cooperative. There are a bunch of games. Covalence is cooperative, and it's good to come together for with a common goal in mind. You feel like you're all in it together. You feel like you're all pushing forward towards the same goal. So that part of it's awesome. Last but not least, this one is slightly older. This is the only 14 plus that I put in this video, only because my daughter plays this game and she likes it. She doesn't get some parts of it, but we help her along with it. She just loves it. She plays it because the whole idea of it is just a blast. And this game is called Potion Explosion. So Potion Explosion is about drafting marbles to make potions. So you have potions like this, and on them it'll say, let's say it'll say 2 reds, a purple, and a yellow. So that means you have to put those marbles on there to finish this potion and then turn it over so it's scored. But then each potion, if you drink it, does a different thing. Along with your getting your score for it, you can use it for special abilities. Some of them let you ignore color restrictions. Some of them let you take free tokens or take specific token marbles out of the chute. And what's cool is that the reason they call it Potion Explosion is if you take, like, let's say this red one. If I take that red one out, these 2 yellows are going to hit each other. That's called an explosion. So when that happens, I get those 2. So I take the red one, the yellows hit each other, take those 2. When the yellows are all gone, these 2 blacks are going to hit each other. I'm going to take those 2. So now I got a bunch of them. So some of it's planning ahead and strategizing, all right, what marble can I take so that I can get the most bang for my buck, so I can get the most marbles back, so I can fill up the most potions on my board so that I can score more points and move forward. It's a great game. It's super fun for everybody. We played it with adults, and it's just as much fun with adults as it is playing with kids. The artwork is very campy and silly, mad scientist kind of stuff. You can see some of them, like this is the rainbow potion, has like a little smiley face on the cork, and you have the one that looks like poison, the one that looks like lava, the one that looks like a brain. It's real. One looks like some weird octopus thing. It looks like it's underwater. I mean, really, really great game. This is made by HG and CMON Games. So this is another one that's highly recommended, especially if you have slightly older kids. It definitely gets people thinking out of the box, and it's a silly enough game to. I mean, you can tell. I mean, look how ridiculous that looks. That looks ridiculous. It's like Mr. Wizard, but if Mr. Wizard was a little nuts. So awesome, awesome game. And that's pretty much it for right now. These are all games that I very much recommend for families. They're a lot of fun. They're simple to play. Some of them a little bit more in depth than others, but overall, as a parent, I promise you, even if you're not a gamer, you got this. You can play these games. You can learn these games very easily and play them with your kids and have a great time. Board gaming is fantastic. It is a great thing to do as a family. It's one of our favorite things to do. We play board games almost every night. And a lot of times my kids will come and ask if we can play certain games. So again, check some of these out, see which ones interest you. I'll have the list in the description separated by age, and I will add at the end of it how many players for each. And from there, check some of them out, give some a try, maybe look at a YouTube video of one being played so you can get an idea of it, and check them out, try them out with your kids, see if they like it. They might love it, they might not, you don't know. But the whole idea is don't be intimidated by it, don't be afraid, because I understand the intimidation. My wife was very intimidated by games at first, and a lot of that boiled down to whenever we would try to learn a new game, it would be in a big group of people, and she would feel like she didn't know what was happening and didn't understand it. And that's very common. A lot of people feel that way, and it drives them away from games because they feel that it's too in depth, there's too much to know, and it's not simple like the games we grew up with. But they can be, and there are games out there that you may actually love, that you can absolutely play and play well and enjoy. And like I said, it's not always about having the highest score. A lot of times, like in life, it's about the journey. So if you find a game that the theme interests you and it looks like it's fun to play, who cares if you win or lose? I lose at a lot of these games. My kids beat me all the time. And I've been playing a long time. But it's really all about the journey. So I'll see you all later. Till next time.